Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Another video for you guys. It's Tutorial Thursday, and I was trying to think about what I could do and came up with kind of going through light and shadow. So we're in Photoshop today, and if I can show you something I've worked on a year ago, if you looked at my website, which was in the description of one of my videos, you will see this piece, and it is just a Gundam that I made last year. And when you get to stuff at this level, this complex, where there's refracting, reflecting, shadow, cast shadows, ambient occlusion, you need to understand sort of everything. End of sentence. Everything. So when you look at this model, you can see that there's light. First of all, there's objects giving off light. The sword and his chest, as well as his eyes, and even his gun. And they're all kind of giving off light, as well as how I lit the scene. And then you've got the way different objects handle light, like his arm pad here, and the way the light over here is hitting his shoulder pad, his entire right side here, and kind of blending off into shadow, or coming at us directly from this side. The light from over here is coming off this angle directly to the viewer, and we're getting a very bright highlight because of the exposed metal there. See where it's gray, the paint has worn off, so the light, when it hits there, tends to be a little more bright. And painted metal is a little more dull in places where, let's say, he's used a different material to build this. So as you can see, the light coming off of the colored metal as opposed to the light metal has a different Fresnel or BRDF algorithm. So if I can explain what those two things are, BRDF is the bidirectional reflection, bidirectional, bidirectional reflection. Oh my gosh. I've just, I've said BRDF for so long. I don't remember what it is. I can do this though for you guys. Bidirectional reflectance distribution function. Well, yeah. So that's a thing. What that is the mathematical sequence of how the viewer and the direction of the light interact with the surface normal of the object. So the light is coming from here, and we, the viewer, is straight on. So the surface normal of this rounded object, the normal is the direction that it points outwards, is in such a way that when the light comes at us, we get a fraction of the light pointed towards us and the rest spread out off of the object. And depending on where and what type of material that is, it's a different amount of light. So the Fresnel is the termination of light based off the angle you're looking at the surface. And the reflection, sorry. So if we're looking at here, right down here, this angle, this is a mirror, and right here we see the reflection of his foot perfectly, because at this sharp of an angle, just like a car, when you look at car paint grazing down the side of the vehicle, you can see the trees and everything else reflect off of it. And as you turn to face the vehicle 90 degrees, you start to lose that reflection. So the Fresnel is what you see based off your angle of the object. So, when thinking about light, let's just create a scene here. So we need some sort of horizon. Let's go with that. I'm just using the gradient tool in Photoshop. So let's do something simple to get the idea across, and probably the most simple is a sphere. So let's. I'm so sorry. Still have that sickness. First of all, let me say before I go any further, hi, ASMR Jess. Thank you so much for the glowing recommendation. I don't know how to thank you. I've got some comments and messages from people that have come based off your words, and I thank you so much. And to those that are here from ASMR Jess's channel, hi. Thank you for joining me, and I hope your relaxation comes swiftly and easily. That was such a treat, and I owe you. If you need anything, you want anything put in a video, I got your back. So let's start with this sphere. Something that stands out from the background. Here we have a sphere, and it doesn't look like it. But let's say we've got a light that's kind of coming from this angle. Then, let's start over. If we have an object in a world where there's no light, which means there's no shadow, which means everything is flat color. If you look at your wall paint right now, if you look straight at the wall, you see a different color based off the reflection, as if you looked at the glancing of your light off of the wall. So if you take everything out of the world that's light-based, it would look flat. And once we start to introduce light, you get two things. A, highlights. B, shadow. So we're just going to link every layer from here on out for now. So first, we know that we get a shadow. And if we're going to be direct, let's just go like this. To help illustrate. What I mean I'm just get rid of this. So now you're never going to have anything that's completely white in the world. And you're never going to have anything that's completely black. There's always going to be something. So if we go dark, we have an unlit sphere. We have our light source now coming in. So as we start to introduce shadow, this is how most people without any concept, with a basic knowledge, like very basic, would interpret this object. And as you can tell, it's starting to take shape. You start to see that it's got some form to it once you start to introduce the light. But this, it goes further than this. Hey, what the hell? Erasing my ball here. Okay. So, breaking shadow down. There's a few terms you should know. There's the shadow, but it's not just shadow. There's where the light hits the object. This is called the light, the center light. And then you've got this halftone, where the light starts to bend around the object. And then you've got the terminator, which is this dark where the light ceases to exist, and you've got the darkest part of the shadow. Sorry, that's where the light ceases to exist. And then you have the shadow that is beyond that, where it is completely black. Not completely black, but darker than sorry, the core shadow, the terminator. I started coughing and totally threw myself off. We've got light, center light, the halftone, the terminator, and then there's a core shadow, which is given by the object itself. It is the shadow of the object on itself. And it's there, it's just not always 100% apparent. And things tend to lighten up. That was loud. So if this is sitting here, there's the core shadow, lights bouncing all around the room. And why things lighten up is because there are continuous global illumination. There's always some form of light off of another object. So if we grab that light, and let's say it came off of this floor, bounced off the wall, and it's coming back over here. would start to do something like this and brighten it back up. So here's with no reflected light, and here's with reflected light off of the ground. Now beyond that, there's the cast shadow, the shadow that the object itself casts based off the light. And if I can do this properly, the easiest way is to just duplicate the object and bring it over. I just don't know why it won't let me grab any of this. So that would be something like this. Now most people would think that it's a straight shot behind the object from here back, and it's got this long oval like that, but you've got to think of the form of the object. The shadow doesn't start at the base, it starts where the light ceases to exist. So it's got this belly, so to speak. And if this is the base, where it touches the ground, then this too would cast a shadow. So you've got the core shadow, which is the object, is the shadow of the object that it gives itself based off its form. And then you have the terminator, which is the ending of the light. Then you have the cast shadow, which the object casts. You have reflected light, which is from the environment around you that changes the color of everything. So you've got this cast shadow. It's obviously going to be darker than that. And if this light was extremely far away, then extremely far from the object, then you would get a very blurry shadow. If this light was close to the object, projecting the shadow, then you would get a very sharp object. But let's say the light is kind of grand in size, and the shadow is cast over a long distance, then you would get, let's make a couple of these. This one will be the tight. Then we will make a blurrier one. And we'll just kill that for now. So the closer the object is to the surface, the less the sharper the shadow will be. If we can introduce this back. You can see the shadow goes from sharp to blurry. And this is excessive blurriness for a shadow this short, but to illustrate the point. Hopefully that helps. Now, even further beyond that, you've got what's known in the world and game industry as ambient occlusion. The shadow that exists when light ceases to bounce less between two objects. When I close my hands, I don't know if you can see, but shadows start to form in there. It's not casting on each other. It's simply occluding the light, canceling it out. So I like to get really dark on this. You get occlusion on the table, on the surface itself. Let's just lower that a bit. And the table would also occlude onto the ball. So let's drop that in there. So lastly, there's the actual light itself. If this light was at a grand enough distance away, then there would be no highlight. But if it's a very hot light and it's close to the object, then you have what's known as a highlight. And it wouldn't be right on the edge like that unless this ball was metal. Then you'd probably see a pretty big highlight. But if we're going based off the camera angle, which is us, you'd probably see a highlight like there. something like that. And then lastly, of course, the sphere itself, like everything in the universe. I've said this in almost every video. The surface of an object is never completely smooth. There's always some sort of surface breakup. So if we come in here, we can add some noise. I've never done this before, so we're doing it live. I'm trying to use the noise as a way of breaking up the edge of the object. And I think it's working. Somewhat. Gets the idea across if we zoom in nice and close. Whoa. So there that is. That is light and shadow and how we understand it in the world and in the industry. So that when you understand these principles, you can light something like this effectively. Let's say there was like a box of Cheerios. Somewhere in the scene. Nope. Let me just clean this up a bit. If we're talking about reflection, then it's a whole new ball game. You're talking about surface quality, let's let's say there was a box of Cheerios over here off camera. This is the worst. It would simply reflect if this was metallic of some sort or very hard toy plastic. If it was a perfect reflection, if it started to be a very rough surface, then you would see it metal, glass. You've got like hardwood floor, and then painted metal. Then you've got like painted wall, and of course, anything further is non-metals, wood, stuff like that. So, usually these videos are supposed to be 20 minutes. We went to 40, but I hope that was interesting enough. And again, thank you for coming to my channel and taking part in this. It really means a lot to me that so many of you guys, would take time out of your day, and that's time you're not going to get back, and to be able to share that with me, share that with you. The time in making these videos is cherishable. So have a good evening. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're new or originally here. Let me know if you learned anything, or if you start to notice these things now that I've told you or explained some of it. So take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.